Hello everyone, it's Karen Burniston here with your class day recording for our May 2026 virtual class. So we are making 2 cards this month that are featuring our Lorna label pop-up with some new add-ons. So there's a thank you card and a love you card. So let's just look at the cards first. So our card 1 is going to be our thank you card. So here on the front, just a note to say, and then inside thank you. And then you had a choice of a couple different greetings that you can use on your fishtail banner. So I chose the So Very Much Beautiful Graphic 45 papers. Now we are going to be featuring another die that's not one of the required dies, so it was pre-cut in your kit, and that is our display helpers. So one thing about these 90-degree cards like the Lorna is sometimes, the recipient gets it and they want to display it open, but it tends to, fall forward, and so then maybe they're like back folding it a little bit and trying to, just make it perfect so it'll stand up. But what these display helpers do is they help it stay open for display, and there is a little oval that you can include in your card to let them know what to do. So lift the tab for display, lower the tab to close the card. So if you got a card like this that's kind of not staying open for display, you just lift that tab instantaneously. It's going to stay open for display. And then if they want to close the card, then they just push it back in and then the card will close. So that is card 1 is going to be our thank you card, top fold, 5x5 card, beautiful graphic 45 papers. And the greetings. The other thing about our classes is that we do a lot of clear stamp greeting sets to go with our pop-ups, but we don't make those required. So a lot of the students end up wanting to pick them up because they like them, but the class program is a great chance to kind of use some of those greetings because they are kind of pre-printed in your kit. So for the thank you card, we're going to use Just a Note to Say. That is off of our Love Notes clear stamp set. So if you wanted to make these cards again, that would be the stamp set you'd need to pick up. It's listed in your handout. So the supplies are listed even if we pre-cut or pre-stamp them. Then for the thank you card, we're also going to use our thank you phrases clear stamp set. This one I really did design to go with that add-on specifically. But the thank you that's in that clear stamp set makes it a set that you can use even if you're not using this pop-up. So if you're not using this pop-up, but you still like some of these greetings, you could use stamp out thank you and then one of your secondary greetings. Like I said, I think you had a few choices of which ones to cut out to use on your card. Okay, so that is card 1. Card 2, since we're using the Lorna again, so this one's going to be top fold standard card. This one, we're going to switch to kind of a bottom fold card with a window. So I love it when we use the same pop-up die twice in a class. I just like to change it up somehow, to show different techniques with it. So for the second one, we're going to do basically a bottom fold card with a top flap that kind of keeps it closed so it doesn't just fall right open. And that one goes like this. Then you're going to be able to read Love You through the window, but then when you open it, it is on the pop-up. Once again, you've got the display helper to help that stay open for display. So when it falls over like that, this time we'll put it on the left side. You just lift up that display helper. On the video, you got the top fold, so this thing's kind of in the way, but let's see. If I kind of folded that out, you can see, oh, you know what, I'll just do it like this. So it would display like this. This would probably be something like that. That's how it would look on the mantle if they were displaying it. Once again, a little removable oval that you can tuck in there if you're going to mail your card. And then if you want to close the card, just push that back in and then you can close it and the little thing tucks right there. I think I mentioned this is graphic 45 paper, gorgeous graphic 45 papers. Okay, so what have you made it to? You've made it to the class day video. So the distinction being that there is also a prep work video. So those of you who are kit holders, and I am distinguishing that because for our virtual classes, which are pre-recorded, we actually make this class day video public, so anybody can watch it. But what is behind the paywall for this class is access to those very detailed PDF instructions and your prep work video. So the prep work video is what gets you from kind of your bulk materials into a couple ready to assemble card kits. And that should have been done ahead of this video. And if it isn't, don't panic because this is pre-recorded. It's no biggie. Just hit stop. So if you are a kit holder, you said, oh, I didn't realize there was prep work. No biggie. All you need to do is just go back to that prep work and do your prep work first, following that other video. How do you get to the prep work video? When whoever sold you your kit, so that could have been our website or it could have been one of the stores that participate in this program, they will have emailed you these PDF instructions, and there's a QR code right there that you can scan, or you can click this little YouTube link. It'll take you to the prep work video. You do your prep work, get your ready to assemble card kits, and then come back to this video. And you'll be able to get back to this video really easily. Not only is it public, you could just go to this YouTube channel and look for it, But also in that prep work video, in the description box below will be a direct link back to this video. So you can find it. You can find this video again. Like I said, you're not really missing anything. It's pre-recorded. And we just premiere it at a certain time. And on the premiere, I'm like in the chat box over here, or I guess depends if here, whatever device you're watching the video on. For that first airing, that premiere, I hang out and watch it and answer questions. But typically there aren't questions from students because the students are in complete control of the pause button and the rewind, and so they're just going at their own pace, and they're not bothering with me. They're just following along at their own pace, hitting pause, rewinding, going to get a snack. You're in complete control of the pace. Doesn't even all have to be done today, right? So you can make card 1, say, okay, I'm going to make my thank you card, and then I'm going to, go to a birthday party, and then I'm going to come back later and do the love you card. It'll be here for you, no stress. Okay, what are you going to need to do this class day video? Love you. Sorry, I should have mentioned too on the love you. We're again using the display helpers. So the display helper set was not one of the required dies, but if you end up liking those little lift dies, or it also comes with a couple that are good for 180 degree cards. So if you have a card that's meant to be open fully flat for display, and you find that I think like our 3-tier cake or maybe the cruise ship add-ons, those can be helpful, and you use a paper clip to hold them. And then you get the clear stamp set comes with that die, and it'll give you the instructions for, if you're doing the flat, when you place a paper clip through the slots to hold the card open for display, you've got lift the tab for display and lower the tab, lower to close the card. That's the one we're using. And then you actually have a little lift stamp in there that is the exact same size as the one that is die cut into the piece. So if you would probably want to use a stamp positioner, but you could overstamp that lift and have it, be more noticeable, I guess. I didn't do that for this class. I just left it. I kind of like that it's just subtle, kind of blends in, but you can kind of see that it's there. And then, like I said, just lift that, keeps your card open, push it in, close it. Alrighty, I think that's all the preamble to this class. We're going to get started here. Our card 1 is going to be our thank you card. All right. And what are you going to need? Good idea to have something to capture your pieces, like a tray or something. You're definitely going to want your glue. So I use LINECO neutral pH adhesive in my fine tip bottle. Okay, love it. I keep a damp paper towel in a jar. That keeps the glue flowing throughout my crafting day. I've started just keeping 2 in here because every once in a while I come in and I'm working on the computer today, and I forgot to re-squirt my paper towel, and one of them will get clogged up or whatever, and I just feel like class day it's good to have 2 in case one does get clogged and I don't have to stop the video to go unclog it. But if you just keep the damp paper towel, the tip in a damp paper towel, it's just amazing how well it just works to keep your glue flowing. So I love that glue. Now on some of the parts that you're just adding paper to paper, you probably could just use a tape runner if you prefer. Definitely going to need your scissors. Pencil. When we get to card 2, we're going to do a little tracing and cutting to get paper to fit around that window. So you'll want your pencil and your scissors for that. And then if you want to ink anything, I didn't do much, but on card 1, the thank you card that we're doing first, I just hit the edges of the greetings with a little dried marigold distress ink. So any kind of peachy pink color. When I got to the love you card, I went with tattered rose distress ink. So yeah, peachy pinky colors. They'd be good. All right, I think that's all we need. I think I'm going to turn off my face. Before I do that, I will tell you, so those of you who watch the prep work video know of my current challenge that we have this new adorable little Shih Tzu dog that we adopted from the shelter. His name is Yoda, and Yoda has decided that I am his person. He never wants to be far away from me, and that includes here in the office. If I am sitting, then his spot is right here on my lap, and he will not accept a floor position, or I pulled like a little ottoman in here and put his blanket on it, and I thought, well, maybe if he's just near me, he'll be okay. And he quickly decided, nope, this is where I want to be. So I'm going to be teaching this class with this dog on my lap, And he should be quiet because he's generally quiet as long as he's on my lap. But this is going to be a new work challenge for me, is operating with a dog on my lap. But okay, let me turn off my face and we'll get started on these cards. All right, so card 1, our thank you card. So top fold 5x5 card. And beautiful graphic 45 papers. I mean, they've just been amazing me with the papers lately. Yeah, okay, so we've got our card here, top fold. We're going to work on the inside first. Okay. So, what if I just put my display helper and over pulled it a little bit. All right, so when you're looking at your pattern papers, you've got 4 of them here, okay? The one that's just all squares, that's for the back of the card. The one that's got the big flowers in it, that's for the front of the card. And then you've got these 2 for the inside of the card. And what I did, it looks to me, is I put the one that has the lemons, I put this one with the squares going this way. And then I put the upper one with the squares going this way. So I just kind of thought that was a cool little motion of the clear area through the card. And you can attach those however you want. So in other words, if you're a glue person like me, you can use glue, or if you prefer your tape runner, it doesn't matter. Or if you prefer the orange side of the paper, I mean, it's your card. Don't let me be the boss of you. So, yeah. So the Lorna label, yeah, it is really just quite a popular die for us because it is so generic. And the thank you and the love you add-on sets are 4 and 5 of the add-ons that fit that turn it into greetings. So you can also get, I'll show you cards at the end, but you can also get a die set, an add-on set that will turn it into happy birthday, or one that will turn it into just a note. And then there's one, that's a little bit of tape on back here. Don't know why. And then there's one that'll do Merry Christmas. And I mean, more will come because that's kind of just the way our brand is we don't really retire dies. Instead, we'll just come out with new add-ons and things, new looks for them. And so you can really feel confident that when you buy one of our die sets, you know, there's going to be ideas for it and, you know, maybe new looks for it. So we really believe in having you invest in kind of building a collection. All right, so ahead of this class day video, when you were doing prep work video, here's what we had you do. And again, I'm not going to reteach prep work here in the class day video, but I do know that we have some people watching that are just interested in our class program. So I'll give you kind of quick kind of what we did here. This part was cut with the foundation die, which was the Lorna label pop-up, which you also had to have to participate in this class. So what we did is we used the big, you know, pop-up die, and then since we wanted it open, we nested in that largest stitched label and we cut it at the same time. And in actuality, if I remember, we even nested in the smaller label at the same time so that basically it cut 3 pieces, right? So it cut this, and this all at the same time. We're not going to end up using this frame from the middle, but we are going to end up using this. Am I telling you that correctly? Yes, I am. This one's for the front of the card. All right, so now we've got the pop-up. Now, when you die cut the Lorna label out of pattern paper, then of course you're not getting quite as much pressure against those score lines. And then even when you do, it can be difficult to see them in the pattern of the paper. So what I suggested in prep work, and I know that some of you students don't watch the prep work video, you're good with just the handout, so you may have missed this, but I think I put in the handout that you should have worked the folds. Let me look here. Pretty sure I told you to work the folds. Yes. Leave the paper in the die, press against the score lines with a bone folder to make them more prominent, fold on all the score lines to pre-train them, and then return the piece to flat. So you may not have folded them the same direction as me, but hopefully you did find your fold lines, because it was going to be easier to do that when you had the die, you know, where you could kind of press against the die, or at least look against the die and see where those score lines are. So typical Lorna assembly. Up at the top, there is a tapered tab, and there is a score line right next to it, and it folds to the back, okay? And then right next you know, to the label, it folds to the back again. So mount and fold, and that creates the back section that holds the pop-up to the card. Okay. Down here at the bottom, this creates the box. So there is a fold line kind of up the middle of the box there. If you find that one, when it folds in half, you know, the ends, if they're not perfect, they're close, you know, come close to each other, which can be a good check to know that you've found that middle fold line in the right position. But yes, that folds to the back as well. Basically, everything in this piece is a mount and fold, folding away from yourself, except for this one that brings the label up. Okay, so far we've done mount and fold, okay, and we found this one in the middle, mount and fold. All right, these are probably the hardest to find, these little score lines right here. There is a slight taper, okay, so that can help you find it because it's basically where this goes from diagonal to straight is where it is, but it also folds to the back. So there's a score line there for the small tab and a score line here for the small tab. Okay, and then on the bottom, there's a full tapered tab. Okay, so right where the taper goes to straight is where that score line is, and you fold that to the back as well. Okay. Now, sometimes with pattern papers, in the process of folding them, you've exposed maybe a white core. Mine seems okay that it's not doing that, but if it did, like especially if you folded it valley first and then you changed it to mountain, maybe you exposed some core, you can leave it because white is one of the colors of the thing. Or if it bugs you, you could take some blue ink, you know, and ink your edges if you wanted to. One valley fold in the piece, and that's just where the pop-up gets attached, you know, where the label meets the box, right? So right here at the base, that's the only valley fold. And then you can see, so that's just typical Lorna label assembly. Once you master those folds, you know, you got it, no matter what you're decorating it as. But since we are using an add-ons on it, we're going to go ahead and do that decorating before we attach it inside the card. Okay, but it is ready at this point. It could be attached inside the card. But we're going to do some decorating first. So let's just put that back out to flat. Okay, and find your thank you, the one where you've already added the letters for thank. Okay, and the reason that we did that during prep work is because there's a really cool feature of these die sets, these Lorna add-ons, that I'll just grab the love you because it's handy. The block letters have the same shape and spacing on the die itself to where you can use that by pushing the letters through the die and you can get perfect placement. So the thank you is the same way. So it's just for the block letters. The ones that are script, it's easy enough to line those up, but the ones that are block, you can use the die as a placement tool. So we did that during prep work, and we used it as a placement tool to add our thank. All right, so now let's find the script word U. Okay, and then that one's going to go here. Okay, and I would definitely suggest using glue for that. So, yep. It's nice, these, you know, when you just need a quick little thank you, because it's not time consuming to make these at all. You can put together a quick little thank you Lorna label card really quickly. One thing I like about that glue is that it does dry clear. I can be a little messy at times, and I love that it dries clear. Didn't quite get my U tail perfectly centered, but I'm going to be okay with it. All right, so here's thank you. So this is cut with the add-ons set. So the add-ons set, let's take a look at that die set real quick. Okay, the way you read an add-on set is here at the top. It's going to show you the pieces that are in that set. So there's 7 pieces in the set. You can see a picture of them down here, and it'll always tell you which foundation die that you need, and it'll say sold separately. Okay, so if you want to, you know, create this pop-up, then you use this in conjunction with your foundation die. But in addition to the frame and the thank and the U, you also get this cute little flower and a flower center and 2 vines that come with that set. And I point that out just because that's a pretty fun set to use, even if you're like, I don't think I want to make pop-ups, but I sure do like this label shape and these extras. Well, you know, it's not like this couldn't be used flat on a card just like that. Okay, so it's got kind of double duty. But when you do want to make a pop-up with it and you're using your Lorna label as your foundation die, then it's going to fit right around that opening. So your best bet is going to be adhesive on the back of this blue frame. Don't get into the letters, just do the frame. Okay. All right, and it is the exact shape of that opening, okay? What I tend to do is I start at the bottom and I get it lined up perfectly, and then I travel up to the top. Right now I'm just looking at these bottom little corners here, just going right around it, because when I get to the top, I can always push it down, you know what I mean? I've got more flexibility in the top to kind of mash it to fit than I do at the bottom. So if I kind of start at the bottom, but it should fit that opening just perfectly. Okay. There you go. Now, did I did not. Okay, that's good. All right, we won't add like the flowers and stuff till we get it in the card, because we want to make sure that we place that in a spot that will stay hidden when the card is closed, and it can be hard to judge that if you do that in the flat position. Same thing with this one. We want to make sure that we put that vine in that flower so that it stays in the card. But we can go ahead and put whatever greeting you chose to cut out for your secondary greeting, okay? So I used So Very Much. I'm going to use this dried marigold on the edges. Okay, and then where that's going is going to be the front of the box. So since we've already worked the folds, you can isolate just the front of the box there, and that one's going to just center in that spot. Okay. And maybe you chose a different greeting. Like I said, I think you had a couple choices, if I remember correctly, in your kit. Okay. And if, of course, if you get the stamp set, then you get all the choices, right? Because you could have stamped out whichever one you wanted to. And then, you know, one nice thing about these two stamp sets, too, is I feel like there are some times when you can mix and match, too. Like, so, you know, the I love you so very much, you know. I love you, you're the best. So you could do thank you big time, right? Thank you, I don't know, you're my best friend. So you can mix and match between the sets too, which is kind of nice. All right, I think that is all we're going to do on that pop-up until we get it inside the card, all right? So one nice thing about the Lorna label is that you get to install it in the card perfectly flat, okay? Now, if you read the instructions or you watch the assembly video for the Lorna label itself, it's going to tell you you're going to line up that center fold, okay, with the fold of the card. Okay, and once you get that perfectly lined up, then you keep that flat, you add adhesive to all of your tabs, and you flip them under and attach them to the card. Okay, and that does work really well. You can see that in the instructions here. That does work really well when you're doing a solid label Lorna. So when you're installing it without an add-ons and you just have it a solid label, well, then you can absolutely install that completely flat. So if I can flatten that out again, you can see that I lined up the center of that box right with the center fold of the card. Then I put adhesive and I tucked my 4 tabs under, and then I have to train it to pop up as the card opens. I didn't even notice this one has a display helper as well. Okay, but what I find is that when you've hollowed out this top part to make it into a word one, it can be a lot to try to train the entire pop-up at one time. So instead, I like to do a little alternate assembly. I like to do an alternate assembly when I'm using an add-on set for it, which is I just attach these 3 tabs. So these 2 side tabs and this one. Then I put it into the closed position and attach this bottom one by closing the card against it. So then it's already trained. So that's how we're going to do it today. So let me put this to the side here. All right. Step 1, we've got to get this center fold of the box, which is a mountain fold. So this fold right here, but you might want to temporarily invert it a little bit, like as a valley fold, so that you can bend your card just a little bit, and you can just set that fold right into that card fold and just slide it to the side until you get it pretty well centered. Okay, you don't really have to use your ruler on this. You could if you wanted to, but let's see if I can give you a, looks to me like centered-ish, which I didn't measure it either, so I could be wrong, but it looks like centered-ish is this corner kind of ends up right there next to the center of that. And I'm just looking at this side, and if it's close, it's good, because it'll work anywhere along the fold. I mean, you can always purposely put it off center, you know, if you were planning on some embellishment over here or something like that. But let's slide it until it's pretty well centered, something like this. Okay, and then now we got to make sure that does not move. All right, so stick your hand on there and press that down so it cannot move. All right, we're going to add, we can do this one at a time, probably make it a little easier. All right, so I'm going to add adhesive to this small tab over here. I would pick it up, but I'm not going to, because then it's probably going to move. I'm trying to keep this fold right over the fold. I'm just going to kick that under and press it to the card. Okay, I'm going to do the same over here. So adhesive on that tab. Okay, kick it under and attach it to the, you can see. Okay, once you get those two on, then you can let go, right? Because you've set the location. All right, you don't have to hold it anymore. It's set. And if I were to lift this up, you can see it's basically these two tabs have been glued down. Okay. All right, now I still got to keep it nice and flat while I put this tapered tab at the top. I kick that under. Okay, so everything's flat, 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 and you're only seeing blue. You're not seeing, you know, it's not like, I don't know how you could, but it's not like this is, you know, forward or anything like that. Everything's just like flat. Okay. The adhesive is going to go on this tapered tab, again, on the blue side, on the side that's up. Okay, and now we've got to kick it under and attach it to the card. Now, when we kick it under, you've got wiggle. See how you've got wiggle? So try to make sure that that doesn't wiggle, or if it does wiggle, get it back into, you know, where you can see that it's set in there perfectly as you attach it. All right. So now we've got our upper three tabs attached. So this one, and this one. Okay. Now you could keep it nice and flat, add adhesive here, tuck that under. But then you've got to try to train this thing from flat. And like I said, it can be a little hard when this is so delicate. All right. So instead, what I like to do, let me pull that back out again, is I like to grab the sides of my label and I'm going to pivot this pop-up until it's sitting flat against the back wall. Okay, let me do that again. Okay, I've attached here, here, and here. So now I can grab the sides and I can pivot that pop-up until it's sitting against the back wall. All right, and then if I fold down on the center fold, I can read my so very much. I've got access to my tapered tab right here. This is the flat position for that pop-up. So if you had x-ray vision and you were looking through your card, this is how it looks when the card is closed. Okay, it's sitting against that back wall like that. That's the flat position. All right. So what we can do is we can leave it in that flat position and we can add our adhesive here across this bottom tab. Okay, keeping it in that flat position, we just close the card against the exposed adhesive right in there. Okay. If you're using glue, be a little patient to give it a chance to set up. Okay. Be careful the first time you open it. What I like to do is I just let it fall open, and then I put my thumbs against the top of the, you know, the center fold of the box, and I kind of like push it open, you know, give it a little help so it doesn't just like rip it off the bottom. But you can even, once you get it in there, you can kind of go in and give that a little press. If it inverts your fold, just pop it back out again. But I mean, that is it, y'all. That's it. That's how it works. It's so easy to install a Lorna inside the card. Now, one of the things that I mentioned in the handout, which I didn't do and I wish I had, and so now I'm going to see if I can I wish I would have left a little space. I said it in the handout. I said, don't go all the way down because we can tuck this little vine underneath and we can tuck this little oval over here. And I completely forgot. And I don't want to rip my paper. I love this little tool that I got from, it was Creative Memories tool, but the end broke for me. And so then I tried just sanding it down and keeping the end, but I find that that's not as thin as it used to be. So it's not as good for prying things up. I wonder about my little, you know what, I can also just trim my my vine, which is probably what I want to do because I don't really want to mess anything up. But yeah, I meant to say let's not, if I can just get a little bit under there, it's just enough to tuck that oval in. And just enough. Yeah, that's all I need. Yeah, I meant to only put the adhesive across the middle. Sorry about that. The lovely things about teaching, live, meaning that I'm recording this live, is, I don't get any do-overs. All right, let's talk about decorating this now. So, okay. Well, you know what? Let's work on that display helper. Let's get that in there. Right now, your card is probably being real nice to you. It probably is staying open pretty easily. I mean, mine is. A couple things that haven't happened yet, which is going to kind of change that. We haven't decorated the front. Once we get the front on, then that tends to add weight to it that might pull it forward. And then it hasn't just been kept closed. When it's been kept closed for a long time, you know, like it would be through the mail, when they open it, it will tend to fall back forward again. So the display helper can be really helpful for that. So what I did is we're using the right side display helper for the thank you card, and we'll use the left side for the love you card. You could put two in a card, but you don't really need it. One side or the other is plenty. The way this display helper works is it's got 3 folds in it, and you fold them all valley style, meaning you're folding towards yourself. So there's a panel out here, there's one up the middle, and then there's a panel on the bottom. Just fold them all valley style. So valley, valley, valley. Okay, no mountains, just valley, valley, valley. Okay. Now, if you want to hit that maybe with a little ink, you know, around the edges, just kind of have it blend in a little bit better. Again, I'm just using my, what is that? Dried marigold ink. And we use just a lightweight white cardstock for this. You can do the display helpers out of a heavier cardstock if you want to, but the lightweight's kind of nice because it doesn't really add a lot of bulk to your card when it's closed. All right, so once you've got that inked to your liking, the only thing that's going to glue down is going to be the upper and the lower panels. Okay, so the middle triangle part is going to have no adhesive. So no adhesive in here, but out here on the upper panel and the lower panel, you know, it's going to get the adhesive. Now, you could have glued that in at the same time we did the pop-up. You can actually do it if you wanted to in the flat position and just get both in. I will say, because this is a lightweight cardstock, that it has the potential to kind of crumple a little bit if you don't get it exactly perfectly lined up. So I think a better way when we're using light cardstock is to go ahead and just install one panel, okay? And then do kind of like we did with this one. We'll close it up and we'll close the card against it, okay? Because we don't ever really need to open this up fully flat again, right? Because it's really meant to be displayed at 90 degrees. So if you wanted to open it fully flat, well, then you'd probably want to install this in the fully flat position. And then when you close it, well, maybe it crinkles and wrinkles it a little bit to move a fold, but you know, you can still open it flat. We don't really want to open it flat. We just want to be able to open it to 90. So this is perfectly fine to install it 1/2, then close it, put adhesive on the other half, and close the card. And what that will probably do is it'll make it where it never opens flat again. It only opens about to here, right? Because I mean, it's really impossible really to get the fold in such a way that you could open it, you know, fully flat again, but that's fine. All right, so you get to decide now. Now, see, you've got room for this underneath that box. So you can slide it in until the little protruding tab is just right even with the edge of the card. If, you know, you're planning on using, I don't know, a 5 by 5 envelope and you want absolutely nothing protruding outside the side of it, you could certainly do that. I think it's a little easier for people to lift it if it maybe sticks out a little bit, or I don't know, it's pretty easy to use regardless. On the second card, I put it even with the edge of the pattern paper, so just a tiny bit of the tab stuck out past the card. So I'm going to leave that to you. That's really your decision. So you can either go flush to the edge of the card, or you can bring it to the edge of the pattern paper. Either is fine. It will work just fine. I'm going to just copy what I did. So I'm going to go flush to the edge of the card. All right, so the adhesive is going to go just in that outer panel, the upper one there. Okay. Then I'm going to get the center fold seated right in the center fold of the card. Okay, so I'm mashing it in there where it's seated perfectly into the fold, and I'm just pressing down that upper panel. Okay, so all I did is I adhered that upper panel in the card. I used the edge of the card as my guide, and I made sure that the center fold is mashed down right, lined up perfectly with the center fold of the card. All right. Okay, now I'm going to fold that in half. Oh, I've got a terrible job on my fold. It doesn't line up at all. Let's see. I can probably move it just a little. It doesn't really need to match up. I just was noticing. All right, now I'm going to add adhesive on this panel, and I'm going to close the card. Okay, so when I close the card, it's going to attach it on the other side in exactly the right position. Okay, that's it. That's all you need. Now, see, now you'll notice that it probably doesn't. Yeah, see, I didn't get it perfectly lined up, but it's fine. But you'll see it'll start to fight you on opening fully flat, which is fine because we don't want it to open fully flat. Okay, what you need to remember though is when you have that display helper engaged, because we did use lightweight cardstock, if you forget to push it back in and you close the card will close, but it's going to weaken those folds because you've closed it with your triangles forward. Okay, so what I would suggest is do it once like I did now, just to test it. Okay, great, it's working. Push it in and don't touch it again, right? Because until the class is over, because I can tell you that you're gonna be like, oh, let me just push that. Oh, awesome, it's displaying so nicely. And then you're like, what's the front of the card again? And you start to close it with that engaged, and you're gonna weaken those folds. It'll still work, but won't work as well. If you use a heavier cardstock, you've probably got a little bit more oopsie insurance on that, but I really like the lightweight cardstock. But remember, this is for your recipient. This really isn't for you. This is for your recipient. They're trying to display it. So my suggestion is, man, just keep that in. Keep it in. Make sure it works, great. But then now just don't touch it for the rest of class so that you never have to worry about opening and closing the card and weakening your folds. You know, it's just going to be there for your recipient. Okay. All right. And especially right now, mine's staying open just fine without it, right? It's only the, after you've mailed it and added the front and all that stuff, then it tends to fall forward. Okay. And then that will help keep it open. All right, great. Let's move on then. You can see this is an easy card. We're not even that far into class here. We're into decorating or card one. Okay, let's talk about this fun technique that we did in prep work. So in prep work, I'm a big fan of using clear packing tape over the top of papers and cardstocks to make them shiny. And I think last month we did a little gritty, glossy texture where we picked up some grit off of our cutting pads. So, if you're like me, you die cut all the time, you've got some really grungy cutting pads, and you can take your clear packing tape and you can run it through your machine with, let's see, I've got a little piece of packing tape. We did that last month where you put a piece of tape down, you run it through your machine, and then when you peel it up, it'll have picked up all of the sorts of, you have to run it through the machine because the pressure is what does it. And it picks up all this fun grit off of your cutting pad, and then you put that over your paper, and then it gives you this gritty, glossy texture. Well, this month, I thought, well, let's do something else kind of fun. We're going to shave cardstock off of some of our complementary colors, and then we'll pick that up with the packing tape, and then we'll die cut, and then it will have a texture in it of the other color. So what we did on this one, this is the same blue cardstock that we use for our thank you frame. But what we did is we shaved some of the citrus cardstock, or I can't remember what that, peach colored cardstock, onto the table, picked it up with our packing tape, and then die cut out the label, having the oval nested inside. So then now we get that cool pattern there. And then we took the oval that came out of the middle and we just used one of the flowers. That's not a flower, that's a heart, Karen. One of the hearts from our Love is in the Air charms, and die cut that heart out of the middle. All right, so what you have here is you have a plain white label that you cut, and then you've got this frame overlay, and you can glue those together. That's going to be the place where you can sign the card. So that's kind of a good alternate way. Oh, I can see that my label is a little cut off at the bottom here because it doesn't match perfectly. And I'm going to be just okay with that. I might just trim that little bit of white off. Obviously my die was not completely on, or the paper wasn't completely under the die when I did that because I've got a little blunt edge there. Okay, so in the Lorna label set, you've got an oval, and the oval cuts some decorative press dots around the edges. So that's what we used for the thing here and the thing here. So you could just cut a label, that's this size label, right? And then you can cut an oval and glue it over the top, and then you've got the little press dots around the oval. So that's one look, but you can also do what we did for this one, which is die cut your outer frame with the oval nested in, and then just do a plain label for behind it, and then you don't have the press dots. So it just gives you a little bit more room for your personal greeting. So it gives you a similar look, but without the dots, right? So you always have that option. Okay, so this one's going to be for signing the card. So that's going to go on the card here. Before I glue that down, I'm going to just kind of get my other pieces out. So you've got the mirror image vines, and so I had tucked one under the pop-up and coming out this way. That's why I had said if I had remembered to not do the adhesive on the edge, but as long as I can tuck the stem a little bit, it's fine. Then I've done one kind of like this coming up, and then one of my flowers. So with the flowers, what we did is we die cut out of the paper, the pattern paper. So some of them just ended up with natural flower centers from the paper. Some of them we stenciled through the die to get a flower center, and then others, and that was completely up to you. You may have die cut a circle out of the set to create a flower center. So that was completely up to you. You've got all these flowers, and during prep work, you were kind of given free reign. Here, Yoda. Free reign to kind of decide how you wanted to do your flowers. But you're going to pick one. I used one of these lemon flowers. That was like out of lemons out of the thing. And we're going to attach one of the vines. So I'll just want adhesive on the base, so because it's going to be sticking up in the air. And I'll attach that to the pop-up, and then I should close it and make sure it stays in, because I can kind of change the angle as I see fit to keep it, in the thing. And then the yellow flower will go over the top at whatever angle you want. If some of the petals fall off or off of the pop-up, that's fine, but don't put adhesive, where it's gonna float out over air. Pinch that on or something like that. And this is just decorative stuff, so really, if you have a different vision, it doesn't have to match mine by any means. Okay, so this one's the one that's gonna just attach to the card itself at whatever angle you like. Okay. Then I'll attach this. Okay, so I'm just looking at my original, and I can tell that I used this center here to kind of center the label, and then I just had this flat part just sit on top of this first box. Nothing magical about that. You can put it wherever you want. Okay, and then I put a orange flower over here. I mean, you could ink these if you want to. Sometimes people ask, well, could I put it on a pop dot? You can, but I'd be a little careful inside the card because what you don't want to do is create a catch point. So if you can imagine this flower sitting on a pop dot, I put the blue part off of the thing. I'm going to move that up a little bit. If you can imagine this flower being on a pop dot with those loose petals, okay, watch what happens when the thank you comes down. See how the K or the edge of the U might catch underneath that flower because of the pop dot, and then you've created a catch point when you open your card. So my general rule of thumb is don't use a lot of pop dots on stuff inside the card, but you could certainly do it with things on the front. So if you wanted to, you know, have a little elevation to those items, you know, that's fine, but I would be a little cautious doing it inside the card. Just because of that, because you can create a catch point. All right, so then, let's see, it looks to me like I did kind of a blue flower, which I sort of tucked under. And then something like this. Doesn't matter. Put two flowers in the upper left somewhere, or wherever you want them to go. But I love that that trick of die cutting. Flowers, especially flowers, out of either flowers in the pattern paper or something that kind of has a natural center so that it sort of decorates your flower and puts the center in all at the same time. Do that a lot. All right. This one, the lift the tab, whatever, that was, you know, that doesn't get attached in the card. That just kind of gets tucked. So, you know, because the idea is that they can, it's just to tell them what to do and then it, you know, can be removed. All right, up here, I did a vine kind of swooping this way. And what I did is I actually glued it behind the pop-up in this location. You got to watch, yeah, if I remember correctly, I could look at this one. Yep. So what I did is I took the stem down here is kind of going back behind the K, and then the leaves are glued behind the first set of leaves so that you don't, well, I guess you see them a little bit. Yeah, you do see them a little bit. So I tucked in, so you can see the edge of those leaves just a little bit in that corner. So that would mean that your adhesive would go on the stem and the first set of leaves, maybe a little bit up the stem too. See if I can. So something like that. And then let's pinch it between your fingers to get it on there. In other words, don't, you know, you've got pattern paper here for your thing. Let's see if it stays in. If it stays in, you're golden. If not, you've got to go down a little bit, or you might have to come in a little bit if a leaf is sticking out this side. So just check it before it completely sets up so you can move it. Okay. And then you've got a flower to go here. So, you know, this being relatively delicate, I would really pay attention to where the flower is going to hit the vine and try and get some glue between those layers, right? So if I put it this way, I can use adhesive behind this section. Once again, I can pinch it on. Oh, what did I do here? I'll definitely try to pinch it between your fingers, but if you can get it to attach to the vine as well as the pop-up, then that'll help with the strength of it. That is it, y'all, for the inside of the card. Such an easy card. Super easy. Such a nice look, too. All right, so you should still have 3 flowers. Let's make sure that's correct. 1, 2, 3. 1 vine. As is my usual way, I pour my stuff out and then immediately like lose a piece. I mean, I do this every month. Like every month it's probably on the floor, which is going to be difficult because I've got a dog on my lap. But okay. Alrighty. Let's figure this out. Did I drop a vine? Yes, I did. Y'all, I dropped a vine on the floor. Okay, this is going to be fun. Oh, okay. Lean over. Got it. Okay. awoken a sleeping dog. We can do the front of the card on the pattern paper. So we can just build the whole front of the card on the pattern paper and then just glue it to the front of the card. Okay, so I used this piece of paper as the front. And another thing you can do with these add-ons, and it's true of all of them, the thank you, the love you, the happy birthday, the just a note, and the Merry Christmas, is you can use just the outer frame. So that just means you want to take your scissors and gut it, right? So here, cut against the top of the K, and that'll give you that inside corner. Okay, here, just kind of go against the top of the T. That'll give you that inside corner. And then we just got to separate this connected section of the Y here and here, okay? And you don't need that, but you can also gut it and just use this and then your thank you. Like let's say you were making a card and you wanted just to have a thank you inside the card that had the shadow. You could do that. If you were doing it that way, then you don't worry about the frame and you round, you know, the sections that you're cutting. You round them and you take a little bit of the frame away. But for this card, we actually want the frame. So we want the frame to be pretty and we don't care how this looks. That's just trash. Okay. This is going to just go on the front of the card to frame out our just a note to say. All right. Let's see if I did anything tricky with the vine. Okay. It looks to me like I tucked the vine in kind of out in this direction as I glued this just a note to say on. And if you want a little ink, that marigold ink on the edges of, you can do that. All right, so now, you know what we could do? Let's glue this on first. Yeah, let's do it in that order. Okay, so we are going to glue this blue frame onto the paper, and I just kind of centered it. Okay, looks to me like I guess it's not completely centered top to bottom, just because the way the paper is. All right, let me get mine on and then I'll show. Okay, I kind of used this section with these two leaves as the base of my frame. So it's just eyeballing it, centered-ish, about the same here, here, and here, but a little bit more here. Okay. All right, now let's put this blue label in the middle. Then we can put this vine kind of here. It looks to me like I sort of did like a tuck sort of situation on that flower. So maybe I should put that flower down first. Use a flower. You may have different flowers because again, you were just given all the creative control over which flowers you did. So if I put a flower up here, then I put the vine kind of going over the top like this. You may have a different idea for your pieces. I definitely don't mean to say it has to match mine because it certainly doesn't. Plus, how would I even know? I really wouldn't know. Although I do like it when the students make creative choices and then they post it in our Facebook group, so the Karen Burniston Pop-Up Peeps. And if you join that group, I always love it after class day and people start posting their versions. And I especially love it when people make a different version. So after they've made the one from their class kit, then they take those instructions and their own paper choices and they make the cards again. That is like the best. I love that because that really shows that you're getting the full value of your class, you know, by remaking those projects with your own vision. Because, you know, maybe you're not even a pattern paper fan, or maybe you don't, you know, maybe these aren't colors that delight you, but it's a great chance to learn the techniques and, you know, somebody that you can mail that beautiful card to, even if it's not your favorite. But then maybe you can choose your own papers and make it your own for your next one. All right, and then I put a flower over here. You can go a little wild with the flowers on this set. Kind of in this corner-ish, something like that. And then that Love is in the Air charms. And we had, look, there was no shortage of hearts this month that we could have chosen because there's hearts all over the Love You add-ons. But what we did for the hearts is we used the 2 out of the Love is in the Air charm. So we ended up mostly, really on for this die this month, we used the rose on the second card. And like I said, we used those 2 hearts out of it. And I tried to kind of find places where I could use the rest of the pieces in it, but the teddy bear didn't really match or whatever. But that's a great little set, especially having those hot air balloons that, in the clouds and stuff. There's just so much you can do with that set. And having the wings. So, if you ever, I am in need of making a pet sympathy card, and I thought about taking those wings and maybe putting it on one of our dog dies and seeing, if I can make like a little angel dog. So that might work for that. But so, or you can do a winged heart, or I guess you could do a winged teddy bear. But yeah, there's lots you can do with that set. But anyway, it was the heart. Sorry, yes, heart. Yes, these are hearts, Karen. These are hearts. So we did that fun technique with the shaved cardstock that we picked up with packing tape and then put it over the top of a different color cardstock and die cut it. So I did suggest that you use the double-sided adhesive on the back of the peach colored one so that it would stick easier to the blue one, since the blue one has packing tape over it. So you're just going to make a little heart set like that, and that's going to go up at the top. Okay. There it is, the front of the card. So I'm a big fan of just making a little simple lead in, kind of with some of your leftover materials. Do make sure, well, I guess it's up to you. I envision this as a top fold card, right? So, okay, Yoda, nobody needs your contribution. So then the front of the card would be here, right? And so they would get it, they'd open it like this. Some people like bottom fold cards, so I suppose you could put it like this and then open it like this. I'm going to leave that to you. But we're doing a bottom fold card for the second card with a little top closure, so you will get a chance to do a bottom fold card. Okay, so I'm going to do it the way I did. So thank you, close it, top fold card. This goes on the front. See, that one's feeling a little, it needs a little unclogging. When I remember to come in and I squirt my paper towel every day, then they never clog up. But sometimes you forget to squirt your paper towel, and then the paper towel dries up, and then the tip of the glue bottle sucks the paper towel up into it, and it's all reversible. I mean, you can unclog it, but it's kind of annoying. And I've been doing that a little bit more than I would like lately. But the one thing you can do with these things is you can take them completely apart and get some hot water through them. So typically what I would do is I would go into the bathroom or kitchen or whatever, and I'll take the plunger, the needle tip, right? And especially if paper towel has been sucked up into it, then I'll put the thing in with this off, because when I push the clog out, I can just pull it off the end of the needle like that. And that will sometimes just do it. If it was just a little bit of paper towel, that might be all I need. But if it's been sitting for a while and it feels like if I put that pin in it and it feels like it, like it's just clogged on the inside with glue, then hot water, just running hot water through everything or soaking it out will do it. And then you just put that back together again. And it'll be, back in business again. Okay. So if you need to, you can always take them to the sink. All right. The only thing left on this card is to put this piece of paper on the back. So the only reason I don't always put paper on the back, but when I feel like I have like a mismatch in the, like this top feels real heavy and this feels not as heavy, then I'll put paper on the back. And if you care, I don't think there's an up or down to this. In fact, it looks like I didn't even cut the same section of the paper, so it's up to you as to which way it goes. I think it's something like that. Graphic 45 has just been, I mean, killing it with their collections this year. I'm just swooning over every single one. Oh, and last year too. We did their Halloween collections for our October class. Oh my goodness. Amazing. Amazing papers. And then it's just like, how can you create such gorgeous papers and then have them get retired so quickly? Pattern paper gets retired so quickly, and it just like hurts my heart. I'm like, oh, I want this to be always available because it's gorgeous. All right, sorry for the little Yoda soundtrack there. I don't know, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Okay, so that is card 1. Put my face back on. Sorry about the dog. I promise not every single class is going to be about my dog. I promise. He's just new. He's new. Yeah, all right, there is card 1. Card 1. So that is a 5x7, or 5x7. That's a 5x5 square card, so you can just mail that in a 5x7 envelope, and then, will you need extra postage? It's kind of iffy. It's a little rigid. It's definitely thinner than 1/4 of an inch. I think it would probably just go for a single stamp. But if you worried about it, you could always put the extra ounce stamp on. Yoda. What? Okay, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Nobody wants to hear your contribution to the class. All right? No one wants to hear it. All right, y'all, let's do card number 2, which is our Love You card. All right, let me set these aside. Okay, do some fun stuff with our Love You card. Get all my pieces out here. Okay, all right, so like I said, when we do the same pop-up in a card class, I like to somehow change it up, so it's kind of, a different, so it's not just the same card in, a different theme. I got all sorts of pieces here mixed in, rose stuff. All right, so for this one, it's not as wide. We're going to do 4 3/4. You could fit the Lorna label in an A2 size card, so you don't have to do a square card. You don't have to do bigger card. If you do, I like a little bit wider card if you're going to use the display helper because it just fits in there a little bit easier. But you could even use the display helper with an A2 size card. What this one's going to end up being is a 4 3/4 by 5-inch card. But what we did is we created it out of a full 12-inch strip of cardstock. And so in your prep work, of course, you had all of your measurements for doing your scoring. You may not have actually folded any of it yet. But basically everything's going to fold the same way, which is kind of towards the bump, depending on your, your scoring tool that you used, right? So starting, this is the way it's going to go here, okay? So where your window that you cut during prep work is near the bottom, you have a little fold over flap here. Okay, now you may want a bone folder because that's heavyweight cardstock. So that first fold goes towards the inside here. Okay, we're not gluing it down yet, but that is eventually going to glue down like that. Okay, just make kind of I like to have a folded edge for my bottom fold cards. All right, then the next one is again going to fold inward. If you haven't folded it already, you might want to fold it and hit it with a bone folder. Okay, then we've got one here that kind of defines the background of the card. Once again, hit that with a bone folder if you want to. Okay, and then you may have already worked the fold out at the end, which again is just to make kind of a fun folded edge. See, it'll end up gluing down right there. All right, then we've got these roll top folds, okay? So if we didn't make the roll top, then it would be difficult to get that flap underneath the edge of the frame that we're gonna put on the front of the card, okay? But by engaging all those side-by-side folds and kind of making like a little roll top where it just rolls over that, then it's real easy to get that tucked underneath that edge. Okay, so they can be, it's heavyweight cardstock, so it can be a little bit hard to work those folds. We've got 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all 1/8 of an inch apart. Okay, so I don't know if I have a magic way of doing it. It's almost just like find one. Okay, I don't know that I am going to hit these with it. Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to hit them with the bone folder. You could, I mean, you're trying to roll it anyway, so you can almost just roll it between your fingers to find them, like, if that makes sense. So like, I'm just taking those 2 outside folds and I'm just kind of pinching, and then it's finding the next fold for me, which is this one at the bottom. Okay, and then once I found that one, then I'm giving it a little pressure along there, and it's finding the next one for me. Okay, and then I get up to this one, the top one, and again give it a little pressure, and it's finding that final fold. And you really don't have to hit them with a bone folder, because it's just about having almost like a rolling thing. See how if you look at it from the side now, it's kind of rolling up and over the top. Okay, that's really all you need. You don't have to make it so crisp. You know, they don't all have to be quite so crisp as with the bone folder. Just finger pinch is fine. Okay, I'm going to call that good. All right. Okay, let me look here. Okay, we can glue this one at the top. We can just go ahead and glue that down. Now, if you have, I didn't mention, I think I did in the what to bring list, but quilting clips can be really great for that, because you can kind of clip it and hold it. I don't seem to have any clips right here next to me, so I might just hold it. But I'm going to glue that down inside. See, if I had my clips, that would be so much easier. I have to find my clips. All right, let's just do it this way. Oops, now I've apparently got the washi tape that's on my bone folder is now part of my card. So a little bit of black distressing on my card. Okay. Give that a second. Find a white eraser. Sorry, I didn't realize that I still had my face turned on. Let me turn that off. That's distracting for me, so it'll probably be distracting for you. Take some of that off with a white eraser. If not, that's a good spot for some ink. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, I finally got mine to set up. Okay, I didn't, on this one, I didn't fold this flap in and glue it down until the paper is on. Okay, but I did do the top. All right, so now this part is ready to go. All right, so for decorating the front and the inside with paper, let's find the paper pieces first, okay? So for the inside, okay, what you're looking for is the paper that has the butterfly, the big green butterfly in this upper right corner. That's the one that fits in the background of the card right there. And then the piece that goes next to it that would carry it on is, let me look what the, okay, big rose, is it this one? Yeah, it's this one, okay? So you can find the one where the pattern carries on, right? And that one's gonna go here. And what we're gonna end up doing is, don't glue this on yet, because we've got to trace the opening so that we can cut it for the window. Okay, so let's start with this. Okay, this one can glue on. This one, big one, can just glue on. Let's do that. We're going to center it between the folds and center it side to side. Okay. My goodness. Okay, so there, that one's on the background, and okay, you. All right, now this one. What did I just say? It goes this way, right? Okay, what we want to do is we want to figure out where we want it to be eventually. Okay, and what I would suggest is same side to side, and then just whatever distance from the fold you are here, do the same distance here. So you don't, you can have more distance here because this is going to glue over the top later, right? So you can actually get it real close to the fold if you want to. I wouldn't cross the fold, but you could get close if you don't want quite as much gap there. As long as this is going to come over the edge, you're fine. But once you get a position you like, the safest would be to use some temporary tape of some kind to hold it in place, okay? And maybe along this bottom edge where even if you pulled the tape up and it was a little sticky or something, you know, it wouldn't matter because it's going to get covered anyway. So maybe I'll put a couple pieces of tape across the bottom right there. Okay, so now I'm holding it in place. That's going to allow me to flip that over, okay, and take a pencil and trace the opening onto the back of the paper, okay? And now I can take it off of there. Okay, so we did sort of discuss in the prep work video why I wouldn't have just glued that on to the paper before die cutting the window. And I would say you could. You certainly could if you wanted to. I was a little worried about this being thick cardstock and this being pretty thick paper. I mean, it's pretty thick double-sided paper. It's not super thin. And I also wanted a piece of paper back here. And so if you don't have the most pristine cutting pads, if you do it that way, then whatever's on the backside is getting completely scratched up because you've put a ton of pressure against it, and it's going to just, you know, mark those cutting pads all over your paper, right? So if you just focus on getting the window into your cardstock, you can use the window opening with just a trace method to get your pattern paper to fit, and then you just pretty it up with a frame. Okay, so see how we've got a frame to go over the edge there. So this is going to go inside. So this will give you an idea of, we've now traced this inside opening onto the back of this paper. Okay, we've traced that inside opening right there. Okay, I can see the pencil lines. So that means that I don't want to cut on the pencil line. I want to cut outside of the pencil line, and you basically have about this much space, right, to go outside that pencil line, and then this frame will pretty it up, if that makes sense. So what do I mean by that? So we don't need the label that comes out of the middle, right? So you can just poke in with your scissors anywhere. And when I cut it out, I'm going to come on the outside of the line, and I'm just making sure that I'm keeping the border not too far outside of the line, so that my frame will pretty everything up. So let me cut mine, and I'll show you, and you can hit pause and do yours. Okay, so I'm somewhat generously outside of the pencil line because I know I've got that frame. The other thing I could have done, I didn't think to do, but I could have done since we're on the back of the paper, is I could have put this over that and traced the outside, right? And then I would know exactly where to keep my thing in. But it's pretty easy just to cut a little bit outside the pencil line. So here's what I mean by that. There's my pencil line. See, I cut on the outside. This is ugly. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Okay. When I glue this in here, as long as I can see a little bit of cream cardstock and I don't see any paper going over the edge and into the window, then I'm fine, right? Okay, so it doesn't matter that this isn't pretty because this is going to pretty it all up. You'll never know that that has like a jagged, you know, uneven edge around that. Okay, so let me glue that on. And if you did have some paper extending into the opening, you could just, you know, take it off of there and trim a little bit more in those areas. If you wanted to have a window pane in your window, this would be the time that you could add a little transparency over here, you know, and then this will cover it, or it could go on the front. This is going to be an open window for us. There's nothing that's coming through the window that needs trapping. So we can just do it as an open window. We don't have to have it be anything All right, so there's our inside. See if I can, what can I find? Goodness, here, go over here. Go over here. Tell you this dog, this dog, this dog, this dog. Okay, let me see if I can trap that like that. All right, so there's the inside. Now, as far as like where to place this window, that was all covered in the prep work video. So I gave you the measurement that you measured down from the, center fold and where to place your die, so that you would get perfect placement with the Love You pop-up. Okay, so yeah, the window placement has to be placed in such a way that it will line up with the Love You here. And you see, you have a little bit of play in it too. And I sort of debated which way I wanted to do it, because I mean, at one point I thought, well, maybe I'll pull the window up a little bit where I can read just the entire Love You, like, but then I sort of like the idea of having a little space at the bottom where the rose could kind of come up over the opening and you could still read you. So instead I pushed the window down a little bit, and then we're just going to end up patching the parts of the love that you can't see when the card is closed with a second love. And then see, those pieces are attached to the front and then replaced by the ones on the inside. So, okay. All right. Let me pay attention so I do things correctly. What we can do here, we don't have to do any of this stuff yet. We're going to work on the getting the paper on the front of the card too, because we want to do the trace method on that as well. Okay, so remember that this is a bottom fold card. So this is going to come up like this. That one's going to end up folding under. Okay, and we have a piece of paper for the front of the card, and it is the one that has the blue sideways butterfly, although you're not going to get to keep the blue sideways butterfly because it's going to be in the window opening. It'll get cut away. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing, where we're going to lay this into the position that we want, and we need to hold it in place. You can tape it if you want to, or you can just carefully hold it. Okay, then you're going to open up the card, trace the opening at the back of the paper. Okay, and what I was saying, another idea would be, if you wanted to, you could use the frame. I mean, this frame will go on here, right? But I can't see where the thing is. You could, if you wanted to, put that frame around that opening, okay? And you could trace this. Oops. I guess that's the one drawback, is you might get, what I should do? I should do it upside down. That way, if I mess up a little bit, because it's all equal anyway. It's all right. I'm just going to give you this idea, which I just kind of thought of, and I've never done it this way before. Okay, you could trace this on there. Okay, now look what you've got. You've basically got your limit, right? So as long as you cut this out and you don't get past that outer pencil line, then the frame will cover it. Okay, so once again, get your scissors in there. I'm trimming outside the paper, between the lines, essentially. Okay, there we go. All right, now this goes, let me make sure I do it correctly, like this. Yep. All right, perfect. All right, so I'm not really sure what order we should do this in. I kind of lean towards, I guess, just working on the pop-up. Let's just work on the pop-up next. Although it might be nice to get this flap glued down. So let's look here at this bottom edge. Where's my display helper? Okay, I gotta do that in the right order. So, okay, so flap goes down, then I've got skinny, then I've got oval, then I've got frame. So at least we can get flap down. So let me see, I'm not going to do the same mistake I did on my other flap. I'm going to find some clips. And now that I have managed to extricate myself from a lapdog, let's see if I can reach my clips, which are probably on the other side. Oh, I found them. Okay, and they are. Okay, found my clips. All right, so let's go ahead and glue this flap down. We'll go over the pattern paper a little bit. And like I said, if you've got quilting clips, they can work great for this. All right, I'm just gonna give that a second to set up. All right, that's probably enough time. Take that off. Okay, great structure for our card. All right, let's work on the pop-up now. So this is gonna seem familiar because it's just like with the thank you one. We're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna do some of the decorating ahead of time and then, install it inside the card. Okay, so preparations was exactly the same as with the thank you card. You just did the Lorna label with the biggest label nested inside. In this case, we also nested in the second label so that we would get a frame in the process in this one. Okay, so those were just all cut at the same time. And then I did have you find the fold lines just like with the thank you one, just because it was pattern paper. So I had you kind of put that over the die and, discover those fold lines. The folding is the same. So it's mountain fold at the top next to the tapered tab, mountain fold at the top of the label. The little side tabs are mountain folds to the back. The long fold up the middle of the box is a mountain fold. The tapered tab at the bottom, mountain fold. And the only valley fold in it is the one at the base of the label, and that's what brings it up. So that's the only valley fold in the entire piece. And then that's how it will go inside the card. But of course we want to decorate it first. Okay, so now for the Love You, we did the same thing where we used the die as a placement guide to add the U letters right onto the shadow piece. But we also took advantage of the built-in stencil feature that's on the die set. That's on all of them. It has those stitch lines as an optional stencil feature. So after you die cut, if you want to have the stitch lines on it, you either sponge through the die with ink or you take, like in our case, a white gel pen and add the stitch lines to it using the die as a stencil. Okay, so that is going to go right around the opening like normal. Okay, so the adhesive would go on the edges only, the edge of the frame. Okay, once again, I like to start at the bottom. So start right in the center at the bottom and get the label frame started around the opening. Okay, and then I work my way up to the top, because if I need to, I can kind of push the edges down to where they match. You can also look on the inside and kind of see if you've got it lined up really nicely. Okay, there we go. All right, so for the word love, in this case, we're going to actually put a dropped shadow behind it. So you've got your two words love that were cut out of the darker pink pattern paper and, with packing tape over the top so that they're shiny. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue one of those to the light pink one, and we're going to offset it just a smidge so that you end up with like a little dropped shadow behind it. So what's the easiest way to do it? So this is a very intricate word. So I think I'm going to just put my adhesive on the light pink one. Now it's only going to work to do it this way, where I'm being a little bit willy-nilly with my glue, because that does dry clear. So it doesn't matter if it's all got glue on it, it's going to dry clear, you know, even if it's not completely covered up. But I'm going to start over here with the L, and I'm going to do just a little diagonal drop shadow to the bottom right, which tends to be the drop shadow direction I use the most. And I mean, just a little, just a smidge. Okay, it doesn't have to be a lot to give you the effect. You can see just a little bit off, and it'll give you that drop shadow. And you'll see it better when you get it on the green, because then you can see the light pink show up behind the dark pink. There is also some construction going on in our neighborhood, so if that turns up on the video, I'm sorry. It's a little faint. I don't think it's going to be too distracting. I probably didn't even need to point it out, but I was hearing it in the pauses. So I imagine you probably heard the dog more than that. All right, then there are hearts that come in the Love You Lorna add-ons, and two of them are these little heart frames. Okay, and there's different ways that you can use those frames. So you also have these, you have all these hearts. So you've got the heart frames, and then you've got the big solid heart, and the big solid heart can be put behind the heart frame, you know, to change the inside color. Or you can even do heart frame over big heart, and then do the small heart nested inside. Or these little small hearts will leave a little shadow on the inside. So there's just different ways that you can combine those hearts. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the heart frames directly onto the hearts in the pop-up. And then, all right, Yoda, hang on a second. Okay. The other thing is that this little dog just blends into the floor. Oh, he was over by the door. That's what it was. Okay. Yeah. You know, the idea, I think I mentioned during prep work, the idea was we would get a dog, and he'd hang out with my husband in his office upstairs. And just didn't predict that he was going to be so clingy and needy with me. So, but if he's on my lap, he's happy. He's just happy on my lap. All right, let's find some little small hearts. So we cut, I think, 6 of them. Nope, that's the bigger one. You're looking for the smallest hearts that you die cut, and you can, if you find them all, then you can choose your favorites to go in the center of those other ones. Okay, so there's, well, I found 5, and we don't need all of them, so since I'm doing my usual thing where I managed to, even though I have a tray, not keep all my pieces. I don't know why I do that. Okay, well, this is how many we have. On the table somewhere? 5 is enough. All right, so I'm gonna choose, I kind of like these ones that have the bunch of green in them. I think that looks pretty cool. Put one of those over here. So choose a small heart to go in each of your heart frames. You just center those, and then you'll get a little bit of the green cardstock, or teal, around the edges. Okay, something like this. Lovely. All right, so once again, you were given a couple choices for your fishtail greeting. And I chose the With All My Heart. I don't remember which ones were on the thing. But you had some other choices off of the stamp set that you could have chosen. And of course, if you have the stamp set, you can use whatever you want. I'm going to use Tattered Rose ink on the edges of that fishtail. And then this time we'll do the same thing with the fishtail that we did with the love. We'll just do an offset little drop shadow with the other fishtail banner. And I suppose it should probably have the same diagonal drop shadow as the love. In other words, if you went lower right on the love, you might want to go lower right on your fishtail. But I mean, do as you please. Okay, so something like that, just a little bit drop shadowed. Now let me pay attention on oh, we can do some little hearts too. So on, again, I used the smallest heart, and you need one on either side. Now, depending on your greeting, I mean, you may not have room for, I don't remember which ones there were, but you know, if you like the look of hearts and you have room for them, then you could put little hearts, or maybe just one heart. It's up to you. Okay. All right, now when we glue this on, let's leave a little space behind the right-hand side so that we can tuck that rose stem behind it. Okay, so over here on the right-hand side, let's start the adhesive a little bit inwards. Okay, once again, you're putting this on the front of the box, so if you need to isolate the front of the box to be able to center it, you can do that. Something like this. Okay, and then I think that will be all of the decoration that we will do on that. We'll add the rose after, because once again, you're trying to find a location that, you know, hopefully stays out of the window and only reveals itself when the card is open. So it's going to be much easier to choose that location if we do it after this is already inside the card. Okay, so installation is going to be identical to the thank you one. So we want to get the center fold of the box directly over the fold of the card. Okay, and you are trying to center it. You may want to, how are we going to do that? Can we fold that? I guess we could fold that. Or we could fold it under. You know what, let's do this. Since it's a mountain fold, let's fold it under. Okay. Then just set it in the fold, because that way you can close. No, you can't. Never mind. You can't do that because it's not in the flat position anyway. You're just going to have to let go and trust. You're just going to have to let go and trust that you got your window centered pretty nicely, which I think you did because you did the measurements during prep work. So let's just make sure that this is centered. I mean, you know, the fold over the fold, so you can kind of reverse that to start. And then if you recall, the magic is in holding it so that it cannot move while you work on these little small tabs. Because if you can get these little small tabs folded under and attached to the card, then it's going to set the pop-up and you don't have to hold it anymore. Okay, so adhesive on the small tabs, get those attached to the card. Okay, so all we've done now is attach those right there. Okay, and actually you can see it now where it's going to be. Yeah, nice. Nice. Okay, let's get it back to where we were though. Okay, so because we have to do this top one. Okay, so again, keeping it nice and flat, 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 flat. And put the adhesive on this tapered tab. Okay, and we are going to kick it under, and remember there can be a little wiggle, right? So as you kick that under, look down here at the base of your pop-up label, you know, along here, that it's set back into the thing flat, right? That'll help you get the wiggle out of it. Let me see if there's anything that's going to tuck under that box. Nope, nothing's going to tuck under the box, so we're able to attach the entire thing. Once again, you could attach it right now, but then you have to try and train it from flat. So with these add-ons, I think the easiest is to actually, at this point, grab the edge of the label, bring it up into the flat position so it's flat against the back of the card, okay, and then fold on the center fold of the box so that you can read your secondary greeting, okay, and there's your flat position. That's the flat position for that card. And you can close it up and see how it's going to look in your window. Oh, this one actually, it ended up centering even, I think I did change that just a little bit when I did the measurement so that you had a little bit more of your love you know, centered in the opening. So oh, nice. All right, and then the adhesive is going to go here on this tapered tab. Okay, close the card against it. All right, and then go slow. That first time you open it, I just let it kind of pop open as I reach my thumbs in and I push against the fold of the box and I help it open the first time. And then once you get it open, you can actually just kind of squish down to get that bottom tapered tab. And if that inverts your fold, that becomes a valley fold, just make sure it's popped out as you know, close the card. And there we go. One love you in the opening and a love you that pops up. So fabulous. Fabulous. All right, so let's see, what are we gonna do next? Let's do our display helper. Okay, so this time we're gonna install it on the left. It wouldn't matter, as you see, you have room for it on the right, but we're gonna put it on the left-hand side. We're gonna do the exact same thing that we did with the thank you card, which is we're going to find the 3 folds. They are all valley folds, meaning you're folding towards yourself. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. If you want to throw a little ink around the edges so it's not quite so stark, or even over the whole thing, I guess you could. However much inking you want to do on that. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to glue this top panel down on this left-hand side so that the center fold is right in the fold of the card. And this time I decided to just go to the edge of the pattern papers, but you could go all the way out to the edge of the card if you want more of the tab to be, you know, grabbable, so to speak. But it seems to work either way. So, okay, so adhesive on the top panel, set that in there until that center fold is, mashed right into the fold. I've got it mashed right into the fold and I'm pressing down my top panel. Okay, so I'm making sure it's just sitting in there, right in the fold. Okay, and it's just that top panel that got glued down. All right, now I'm going to fold it in half. That gives me access to the other panel. Let's see, got a little over the line right there. Okay, let me see if I can. See it there? Okay, then I just have to close the card and it'll attach the other half to the other side of the card. Okay. Once again, it is going to work awesome, but if you forget and close your card with it in the up position, it'll weaken those folds. So I would suggest try it once, see how great it works. Awesome. Just holding your card open, love it, and then push it in and leave it. You know, just leave it. Oh, that's funny. So I was like, oh, nothing gets tucked under, but yeah, this little thing was supposed to, oh, I guess I tucked it under this. Okay. You don't really have to tuck it at all. It just has to be in there somewhere. So it's kind of up to you where you end up tucking your oval, but we can still tuck it under this because we haven't added it yet. So let's get that out. Okay, so let's do these in the right order here. Let's look at the card. Okay, I can use my display helper here. Okay, so we've got your plain oval as a place to sign the card. You've got one of your skinny strips and you've got your frame, okay? And the frame, let's avoid the adhesive just in this upper here so that we can tuck the oval underneath it, okay? but we want to do this in the specified order. So let's start with this skinny strip. And this skinny strip is going to go either all the way on the cream cardstock or maybe just a smidge over it. Okay, or maybe it's centered. I don't really, oh, it looks like it might be centered. Well, it doesn't matter. It's kind of where you want it to go. Honestly, it's where you want it to go. Do you want it to straddle the edge, or do you want it to be up on the cardstock, or some combination? Okay. Perfect. Oops. Okay, then this one is just going to glue on there. It's going to be tight to keep it out. You want to keep it out of the opening if you can. At worst, you could, since you've got the frame going over the top of it, if you find that it's going to get into your opening just a bit, a smidge right there, it's not like you couldn't cut a little notch out of it. You know what I mean? So if you find a place that you love it and you're like, oh, it's just a smidge over into the opening, you could just take your scissors and take a little bit off because it's going to get covered anyway. I'll just keep it out of the opening. And it could have gone over here. I just thought that this rose was pretty, so I thought I would put it on this side. Okay, so I've got a little pencil mark here where I don't want the adhesive because I want to be able to tuck the oval behind it. So just not any adhesive there, but everywhere else is fine. And that is going to go right around that opening. Perfect. Okay, and then here's my little tuck oval. All right, lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, we don't want to put this rose in until we've put this rose on because it's basically just meant to, you know, kind of disguise the rose from the front. But we can put our standing rose in, okay? All right, so let's talk about these roses. So these came out of the Love is in the Air charms. Because they are charms, they have the little charm holes at the top so that you could dangle them, you know, from a pop-up. We're not going to be dangling them. So on all the roses, the little hole can come off at the top. And so for each rose, well, you pick one rose doesn't get a stem, and that's the one that's on the inside right here, which is kind of maybe your most prominent viewing rose, so to speak. So maybe you pick, if you look at all your roses, maybe you pick your favorite right there. I don't know. Definitely don't pick your least favorite. All right, I have 5 roses, yeah. Okay, this I think is my favorite. So I'm going to save that one for there. And then the other 4 are all going to get stems. Okay. And what we did with these, kind of the same trick as we did with the other flowers, is we just cut the roses out of roses that were in the paper. So it gave us like kind of that, you know, rose coloring to them, even though the die also cuts like a bunch of detail lines into the piece. So it does give it a good look. Okay, sorry, I had to answer the phone. All right, so adding our roses to our stems, then you're going to pick one, whichever one you like, to go inside the card. Let's do this one. And you can tuck the stem behind. Now what you're trying to do is you're trying to put that in a location where it doesn't show through the window. So if you look at your window, like my window, and yours might be a little bit different because maybe you put your Love You a little bit more to the right or to the left, or maybe your window is just a little bit down or a little bit up from mine. I mean, it's not an exact science, but you can use the card to kind of figure out where it can go and stay out of the window when the card is closed. So this seems like a good location. So it's only going to be the part that attaches to that lower pop-up that's going to have adhesive. So tuck that behind. Check it. Yeah, I can actually come out a little bit. Perfect. Okay, is there anything else on the inside of the card? Well, just that one rose. Okay, so we can't do our one rose till we get the front of the card done. So let's close up the card. Okay, we're going to work on the front of the card now. All right, so for our frame, our cardstock frame, I think we can just glue that. Yeah, we can just glue that on. There's nothing that gets tucked underneath it. Okay, so just line that up with the opening. Okay, now here's somewhere where you can make a little creative choice if you want to. It's up to you. I debated on whether or not I was going to put the other love over the top, attaching it to the frame, and then leaving it as a whole word love that's attached to the frame. But what you end up with then is you have this backwards word love in your opening when the card is open. So I wasn't sure everyone would love that, no pun intended. So I decided to use just the parts of the love that touch the pink frame. So what you're going to do, and a clip might be helpful for this, to keep this clipped closed so it's nice and flat when you do the lineup. All you're ending up gluing to the frame is just a little bit of the L and the flourish of the E, you know. And depending on yours, like I can see that my window ended up a little bit, the window itself ended up a little bit higher than my original, and I think I might have done that on purpose so that you could read more of Love You, or it may be just that when I placed my die, I measured and placed the die, that maybe I placed it just a little bit differently for the class day video than I did for the original thing. So very little of the top of my L is going to touch the frame, but a little bit of it will. So I'm going to be generous with my adhesive because I want to be able to trim out the bits that are in the opening and have those little tiny bits stay behind. So it's just going to be just adhesive on the end of the L, the loop of the L, and the end of the E, and we're just lining it up with the one inside the card, okay? So it's just getting attached in 3 places. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. You basically have a floating word love that lines up with the love from the inside. And if you like that look and you don't mind that when the card is open, you see a backwards word love, you could just leave it. That could just be a cool thing that you did on your card. Or if you wanted to match mine, making sure that those flourishes and bits that are attached are nicely attached. Mine's got barely any at the top here. You're going to trim out the word that's in the opening. Okay, so mine has like just a smidge of the L and then the tail and the tail. Okay. Oh, shoot. Y'all, I shouldn't have put adhesive under this tip. Oh, I hate this. I hate making mistakes. I'm so sorry. See if you can peel up. Hopefully you watched that first so that you can tuck that under. Oh my gosh, y'all. Of course I wasn't supposed to put adhesive right up to the tip there. Some of you are probably yelling at the screen like, Karen, come on, be on your game. It will flatten over time, to where it just has to barely kind of tuck behind there to stay. It's not like a huge closure. It's just like a small little tuck. All right, let's see. Let's put our, what do we have left here? We have, okay, so this skinny piece here I thought would just anchor the stems of the roses. So you want one rose up the middle, and that's the rose that can kind of overlap the opening a bit, right? Because we're going to put that other rose on the inside. Now on my original, there was like a fair bit of the rose that I could put over the opening because, like I said, my window was a little bit lower. But I don't think it matters. It will be it'll be fine. Actually, it looks like it's almost the same amount on this one too. But I'm going to add my adhesive. Don't put it on the back of the rose much, because some of it's going to overlap the opening, but all of the green stem can get the adhesive. And then probably it's up to you as to whether you want it to completely be below the O or whether you're okay with it overlapping the O just a bit, but something like this. Okay. And then when you place your two side roses, make sure that you keep those out of the opening, okay? So you can do them kind of at an angle like this, where the tip of the rose comes to the tip of the corner of the opening, but doesn't go into the opening. Okay, like this. And then your other one, something like this. And again, just going to the corner of the opening, but not crossing over into it. Okay, then you've got this little strip to go across the bottom that will cover the end of the stems and just kind of pretty things up along there where you just don't have those floating stems. And you could bring that up, so if your stems didn't come as close to the bottom as mine, you can move this strip up if you need to. So it doesn't have to be right on the edge of the pattern paper unless it works there for you. Okay, and then this is going to go on this upper. Panel right here. Okay, like this, and then that tucks behind there like that. Keep the card closed. If it's really popping out, you still have the option to do some bone folding, right? So you could hit one of your roll top things with a bone folder, or even just pinch it a little bit more, right? So it gets a little flatter to keep it behind there. So it's up to you. Okay, that is that. Now, I didn't tell you to get a pop dot out. So I did put a pop dot right here, or a piece of foam tape. So whatever you got handy, let me see if I do. Okay, I just grabbed a little piece of foam tape there. This is too big, so I'll cut it down. But basically, you just want a little pop dot or a piece of foam tape, enough to go on that exposed bit of rose. That's probably still too big. Doesn't need to be much. To be able to span the gap there. Okay, and then open this one up so you can see. You're just going to put your other rose on the inside and just kind of choose, an angle where it doesn't go out into the opening. Okay, so I'll show what I mean. You can kind of angle it sort of to the left a little bit, and then it will be, even though it's not a mirror image piece, it'll be mostly kind of covering the shape, the same shape as that on the outside. And then the last thing is just this piece of pattern paper on the back. So on the back of the card, yep, and I put it just like this. One of my glue bottles is more stingy with the glue right now. There's a bit of paper towel in it still. Okay, and then this goes here. So yeah, not a bad class this month, y'all. Just an easier assembly. Didn't take this much, you know. That's what I love about this Lorna labels. Yeah, so now this one's measures 4 3/4 by 5, so you'll still use your A7 envelope for it. This one, it still is, honestly, you know, especially when you get it in the envelope, it still is less than 1/4 of an inch, but it's the rigidity that gets you sometimes on the postage where you need to have that extra ounce or the non-machinable stamp. You're going to find that you have some pieces left over in your thing, and that's just because we cut frames and stuff that we didn't use, and some hearts that were in the middle of the frames and stuff like that that we didn't use. So you can use those wherever you want. Like, let's say maybe you needed a little bit more space to write something, or you wanted to stamp maybe a, you know, handmade by whoever. You could put that on the back, maybe with a little heart, since you have those left over. You know, you might have fun with your leftover pieces there. But that is our Love You card. Congratulations, you got through both cards. All right, so before I let you go, let me show you some other samples here. Okay, you've got to see, I just grabbed some other Lorna samples so you could see some of the other add-ons. Okay, so again, your foundation die here, what starts it all, the first one you got to have is your Lorna label pop-up. And that's the one that does the pop-up. It's got the stitched label and the smaller label. It's got a set of hearts, which we didn't use. Like I said, we were swimming in hearts this month. That oval with the press dots and the fishtail banner. So just such great pieces in that Lorna label set. And you can see them used here on this card, you know, just combining some of the labels and fishtail banner on the front, and then, you know, how you can do all those things. So you can make a solid label if you want. So that's something you can just do with the base die and decorate it however you want. There's a video on this one. This is a technique where, sorry, I got a catch point with one of my butterflies here. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm going to chart that again. So here's one. This is a technique you can learn on this YouTube channel. You can go into the, I think it's in the Card Making with Dies section playlist, and just look at the thumbnails and stuff till you see this one. I don't remember what it's called. But this is a technique where you're actually doubling the Lorna label. So to double the Lorna label, you're actually going to cut it into a folded piece of cardstock. So the fold is right here in the cardstock, and you line up that center fold of the box over the folded piece of cardstock, and you die cut through both layers. And then that is going to give you a double Lorna that you can install, where you have the one against the back wall, and then you have one on the floor as well. And then you can use that one on the floor as a floating floor. So you can put in like little L supports and have things popping up all over it. You can still hollow this one out and do something, you know, have a little dangly thing. So something you can do with the Lorna label. And then let's talk about the add-ons. So I got a whole stack of cards here I grabbed. Whole stack of cards. Okay, starting with the one that we just made. So this release came out just before Valentine's Day, so we do have some samples. Well, this is an anniversary card, but you know that Love You will make great anniversary and Valentine's Day cards, and those Love is in the Air charms that you have. You know, like that's a great way to do the front of the card too. Is just, you know, a winged heart is a nice thing. So there's the Love You done as an anniversary card. Like I said, it did come out right before Valentine's Day. So here's a card by Suzanne Smith. I love this, where she's got the little, she uses our animal dice, and she always has them holding something, and usually something like bigger than them, which I always think is such a fun look. But I just love what she did here too, with the heart that goes up and onto the pop-up. So really, really clever card. Valentine's Day. And here's another one she did, You're Sweet, Love You. So, you know, the candy hearts and stuff from our Candy Hearts box, but and again, a little lion holding something. Super cute. You can use, let's see. So that one's the Love You. Do we have any more Love Yous? I think that's probably it for Love Yous. For the other word sets you can get. So like I said, there is a Just a Note. Well, it's Just a Note to Say. So Just a Note to Say is the word thing. And then it actually comes with this little hello and the hello shadow. So you can have it say Just a Note to Say hello. And it comes with that little love note as well. The bees come from something different, but so that's the Just a Note Lorna add-ons. But see, you can also use any of these, like we're talking about, just like on the front of the card or whatever. So in this case, Just a Note to Say, this one's Sue Small Crider, Happy Birthday. So Happy Birthday is one of the other Lorna add-ons. You don't always have to hollow out your Lorna to use it. You could just use a solid label and glue it over the top, as you see here. So it doesn't have to be the floating words, right? you can just be glued onto the solid label. So that's up to you. You can also, the time that the Just a Note to Say came out was at the same time as our piano keys pop-up. And the piano keys pop-up is designed to where it will fit on the front of the Lorna. So if you want to use your piano keys and assemble it on the front of the Lorna, the Just a Note to Say kind of has that, just a note that goes with music cards as well. And you can see that's a pretty small card there. What is that? I can tell you that is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. So that's a 4 1/4 inch square card. And you can see that that fits. Now, it would be a little hard to get the display helper in, but I think you could do it. I think you could still put the display helper in, even if you're in an A2 size card. There is a Happy Birthday Lorna add-ons. See? And it comes with the little balloons and the little bow. It doesn't come with the cupcake. That's something different. But, so you can do Happy Birthday. This is a class that I taught where we combined the Lorna with the Happy Birthday add-ons with a candlelight from Pear Blossom Press. So the idea here is you push here and make a wish. And then when you open it, there's the Happy Birthday Lorna add-ons. Now see what it says here, blow out the candle. You just blow on it and the candle blows out. So that was a very popular class to do the Happy Birthday with the candlelight. So something else you can do. Here is another thank you card. And again, using those, you don't always have to use the fishtail with a secondary greeting. You can have it just be a thank you card or a love you card or a happy birthday or just a note. So it doesn't always have to have the secondary greeting. I grabbed that one for a different reason. So just a note. Thank you. This one. Yeah, also Suzanne Smith. I thought this was clever too. So she says just a note saying, see how she attached saying up the top? Thank you. Really, really clever. Love that. I think this is another Suzanne. Just a note to say thank you. And then again, I thought this was adorable, putting the bunny holding the A of thank you, tucking it in there. Yeah, and I mean, really, really clever too, just using the vine basically as the stem for the flowers. So another thing you can do with those pieces that are in that set. This is our card from today. This one we've looked at. Oh, okay. I grabbed a couple others. We got Merry Christmas too. So Merry Christmas is another add-ons you can get for the Lorna. And it comes with the snowflakes and the holly. Okay. So Merry Christmas. It's really fun to do the holly kind of in this way too. You can make like little banners and things out of it. Okay, so Merry Christmas. And then I wanted to show this one, who I think is Sue Small Crider. I think this one's Sue Small Crider. Is it? I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. But anyway, I like this where they used it on the front of the card. Well, she would usually put her name on the back, so maybe this is Nikki. I'm not sure. And then she used it with our mailbox pop-up for just a note to say hello with the mailbox. So you can definitely start mixing in these dies with other ones. And I grabbed this one not because it uses the Lorna, but because it uses the Love is in the Air charm. So I think this is a Lois card. It is Lois. A Valentine's Day card using our fancy label accordion. But I like this because she's dangling those Love is in the Air charms. So it's a great way to see, how cute those charms look dangling. So the hot air balloon here and some hearts out of the set, and then the rose that she put on an oval, and she made that double-sided. So no matter which way it dangles, it'll look great. She's got the winged heart up here. So this was a Valentine's Day card, but it really just wouldn't have to be. It would not have to be a Valentine's Day card at all. I think you have seen all of the cards that I pulled. So there we go. This is our May 2026 virtual class, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, you're in full control of that pause button and that rewind and that fast forward. So, and you have access to this video anytime you want to make these cards again, maybe in a different color. Let's see, I could probably turn my face back on. I don't know what I look like after that many hours. I did have to take a couple breaks, take the dog out, but he's behaving himself now, so that's good. Yeah, all right. And as always, you can go on our website, KarenBurniston.com, click on the events tab, that will show you any classes that are coming up. We teach these virtual and Zoom classes once a month. If sometimes we're featuring a new release, and sometimes we're featuring what we call favorite dies. So actually June and July of 2026 are going to be favorites dies. I particularly like those months because it's a chance for me to use some of my favorite dies from earlier releases and maybe mix and match them with dies that didn't come out at the same time, right? So then you get a chance to mix and match dies from different releases. And the students always like favorite months too, because a lot of them that follow the brand, they might already own one or more of the required dies. So then they just have to buy their paper kit, and they're in business. So anyway, thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your month, and I'll see you next time. Bye.